All right, let's talk about the book that has completely taken over the internet, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Today, we're going to deconstruct this massive fantasy phenomenon. I mean, seriously, if you've been anywhere near social media, especially BookTok, I'm willing to bet you have seen this cover. It has been absolutely inescapable. And there's a pretty good reason why.
So, what is all the hype really about? Well, we're going to give you the full spoiler-free breakdown of what this book is, exactly why it's so addictive, and help you figure out if it belongs on your to-be-read pile.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. At its heart, the whole idea is simple, but wow, is it effective. Think of a brutal, unforgiving war college, but with dragons. The story throws you into a place called Basgiath War College. And trust me, this is not your average school. It's a hardcore military academy that's basically a factory for soldiers in a forever war. Cadets get sorted into one of three paths. You can be a scribe, a healer, or if you're really elite and maybe a little crazy, a dragon rider. The motto here might as well be survival of the fittest, because the stakes are life and death from the moment you walk in. And right in the middle of all this is our main character, Violet Sorrengail. Now, in a world that's all about brute strength, Violet is physically small, and she lives with a chronic illness. Her whole life, she was supposed to become a quiet scribe, but her mom, who happens to be this terrifying general, forces her into the deadly Rider's Quadrant instead. She's completely outmatched physically, so her only way to survive is to be smarter than everyone else. You know, to really get the appeal of Fourth Wing, you have to understand this one word: romantasy. This is not just a fantasy book that happens to have some romance on the side. No, this is a book where the romance is a main engine of the plot, pushing the story forward just as much as the war and, the giant fire-breathing dragons. So how in the world did this book become such a massive hit? Let's break down the key ingredients that make it so ridiculously addictive for so many people. First off, the way this book is built, it's just pure addiction. We're talking short, snappy chapters that always make you think, okay, just one more. There is a constant sense of danger. The tension is always cranked up to 11, and pretty much every single chapter ends on a cliffhanger. It's basically engineered to be impossible to put down. And when I say the stakes are high, I mean they are terrifyingly high. People die, a lot. The dragons themselves, they're not just rides. They're intelligent, powerful beings who will literally burn any rider they don't think is worthy. Then you throw in a huge government conspiracy and an underdog hero, and yeah, you've got a recipe for nonstop suspense. And remember that romantasy genre, this is where it really comes to play. This central enemies-to-lovers story isn't just a fun little side plot, it is completely woven into the main story. It changes alliances, it forces impossible decisions, and it has a direct impact on whether Violet lives or dies. It's a core part of the whole machine. You know, what's really cool is how the book redefines what it means to be strong. Violet's chronic illness isn't just some small detail, it's a huge part of who she is. And the story never tries to magically fix her. Instead, it celebrates her intelligence as her real weapon, showing that strength comes in all kinds of forms. And of course, we have to talk about the dragons, because these are not your standard fantasy creatures. They are fully formed characters with their own big personalities. They're proud, they're sarcastic, and they have their own complicated politics. They are partners, not just pets, and that just takes the whole Dragon Rider thing to another level. But look, no book is loved by absolutely everyone, and Fourth Wing is definitely no exception. So let's take a look at some of the common criticisms, just so you can get the full picture. And what's so fascinating is that the book's biggest strengths are also, they're also its potential weaknesses. It just depends on what you're looking for as a reader. What one person calls a fast-paced, addictive plot, someone else might call rushed. The fun, familiar tropes that so many people enjoy can feel formulaic to others. And that modern, witty dialogue, some find it refreshing, while others feel like it breaks the fantasy immersion. So digging a little deeper, some of the main gripes you'll hear are that the world building can feel a bit thin. Like some readers wanted more detail on the politics or the magic system. The huge focus on romance also means it might not land well if you're looking for a straight-up military fantasy. And for some, that constant high-stakes pace can start to feel a little melodramatic. Maybe even exhausting. I mean, if you look at where the book really puts its energy, it becomes super clear. Romance is the biggest piece of the pie here, at about 45%. Then you've got plot and action right behind it. World building, on the other hand, is a much smaller slice. This just confirms it. Fourth Wing is all about the characters and the plot. It's a romancy through and through. So, after all that, weighing the good and the not so good, we get to the big question. Should you read Fourth Wing? Look, it really just boils down to this. You are probably going to love this book if you're already a fan of romantasy like A Court of Thorns and Roses, if you want something super fast-paced and you love high stakes with a big central romance. But you might want to skip it if you're someone who needs really deep, intricate world building, or if you just aren't a fan of popular tropes and modern-sounding dialogue in your fantasy books. So if we were going to give it a final scorecard, this is kind of how it shakes out. Plot and pacing, a nearly perfect 4.5 out of 5. It is just incredibly gripping. Characters and romance get a really solid 4, and world building comes in at about a 3.5. It works, it's fun, but it's clearly not the main event. So here's the bottom line. Fourth Wing knows exactly what it is, and it absolutely delivers on its promise. It's built from the ground up to be an addictive thrill ride. It leans right into its tropes and puts all its chips on fast pacing and swoony romance instead of dense world building. And for the people it's aimed at, it completely, 100% nails the landing. Which really brings us to the final question, the one at the heart of the whole debate around this book. Is Fourth Wing an addictive masterpiece that's changing the game? Or is it just a perfectly timed, well-marketed trend? And the answer, as we've kind of seen, probably just depends on what you're looking for.